Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Ken Canion. I am your host of Love, Lust, and Lies. And on today's show, we're gonna talk about communication is the heart of a relationship. So what do I mean by the heart? Think of it like this. If trust was your liver, hey Regina, if trust was your liver, then, and say sex in a relationship was your kidneys or pancreas or something like that, then communication is the heart. Communication is the heart of a relationship. And I'm going to tell you why today, and then I'm going to, hey Capricia, how you doing? Miss you. Haven't seen you in a while, but I miss you. But we're going to talk about not only why communication is, but we're going to talk about how you communicate. Because most of us are doing it incorrectly. And so the Dr. Canion, is here to give it to you straight. So I want y'all to think about it like this. Think about it like this. Communication. Now, when I teach communication classes, I often start off with this one sentence. This one sentence says, I didn't say you stole the money. Okay? I didn't say you stole the money. That's the sentence. That one sentence has 7 different meanings. And you're like, 7 different meanings, Ken? Allow me to show you. So if I said, I didn't say you stole the money, the emphasis on I. So let's say I said, I didn't say you stole the money. What if I said, I didn't say you stole the money? Anything that I emphasize has a different meaning to the person who is receiving it. Okay? And so I could go down the line, and at the end of the day, when I say it, I didn't say you stole the money. Well, who did you say stole it? Every one of those things is about one thing. That is meaning. Communication is about meaning, the meaning we attach to anything, the meaning we attach to what's said, the meaning we attach to a person's gestures, the meaning we attach to the tone of their voice. Everything in relationships is about meaning. And so in relationships, y'all, many times we communicate. I remember when my wife and I were beefing 12 years ago, when we were headed for a divorce court. We were headed for a divorce court because we could not communicate with each other. She would say one thing, and then I would totally interpret it in a different way. And so what I come to realize is that communication is the heart of a relationship. And so what happens is you hear people say things like this. You hear people say things like, I'm just a straightforward person. I'm going to just give it to you straight, and I don't care how you take it. And so what I tell them is, in relationship with that thought process, ultimately the relationship is not going to work, because what you're doing is you're forcing the communication on the person, on the receiver. And so when I teach people about communication, I tell them, first I ask them, who is responsible for the communication, the sender or the receiver? If I have a message and I'm giving it to my wife, who is responsible for the communication? And they think about it for a while and they say, well, both of us. And I said, untrue. I said, when you are the sender of the communication, you are responsible for the communication, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, you're responsible for that communication. And so what we're going to talk about is, and I'm saying that, and now there are more people involved in the communication, the sender, the receiver, what's said, what's meant, all of those things play a role in communication. However, everything boils down to meaning. How did the person interpret what you said? What meaning did they attach to it? It's all about meaning. And so today, on today's session, we're going to talk about if you're in a relationship, if you're in any kind of relationship, be it romantic or not, be it friendship, I'm going to talk to you about how you communicate to get your point across. how you communicate to effectively go beyond where you are. Because most of us, y'all, we are not communicating properly. In conflict resolution, I always tell people there are two objectives. The first objective is, number one, solve the problem. Okay? That's the first objective. You know what? I use this example, and I'm going to use it here with you guys. So let's say you and your neighbor have a problem. My neighbor is next door, and we have a problem. Their dog keeps coming in my yard, pooping in my yard, tearing up my garden. Or I don't have a garden, but let's say I did. Okay? Now, I'm pissed. I'm telling the dog, because I don't want to shoot the damn dog, but I'm trying to figure out the best way to handle the situation, right? Now, when I do this, I tell people you have two objectives. The first objective is solve the problem. Now, we always want to solve the problem, but the second objective is maintain the relationship. See, if you solve the problem and destroy the relationship, it does you no good. But if you destroy the relationship and don't, or maintain the relationship, say you keep the relationship, you don't say a word, you don't want to ruffle the feathers, but you don't solve the problem. So either way, each one of those situations doesn't help you. And so that's what happens in relationships. Either you keep quiet, well, I'm going to just let it go because I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. I don't want to start another argument. Or you talk too much. Or it's like you're always beating them, badgering them. This problem, that problem. You don't ever put up the toilet. You don't ever do this. You don't ever do this or that or this or that. And the person is like, damn, I can't do anything right. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about. You've been in relationships like that. And so what we're going to do today, I'm going to show you how to communicate to not only solve the problem, maintain the relationship. Get your point across, all right? Because remember, the communication is the heart of the relationship. It is not the lungs. Trust might be the lungs, okay? Sex might be the pancreas or the kidneys, but communication in any relationship is the heart of it. If you cannot communicate, the relationship won't survive. It's going to have a heart attack. Your relationship is going to have a heart attack if you can't communicate. And so what I'm here today, I'm Dr. Canion, and I'm going to give you the way. So I came up with my 6 ways to communicate in any relationship. 6 ways to communicate in any relationship. The first thing that is not in the 6 ways is, I'm telling anybody, y'all, listen to me carefully. You have to be intentional about your communication. And what do I mean by intentional, y'all? You have to want to communicate. You have to be present, y'all. Because I know the other day, my wife, I was looking at this Netflix show. Because I'm kind of compulsive. If I watch a show and I really like it, because I don't watch a lot of TV, I'll binge on all the seasons like at once. Like on the weekend, if I'm not working. Because most of the time I'm working on something. And I'll just binge. And what happens is my wife was talking to me the other day. And I'm trying to watch the show. It's kind of like when I'm trying to watch the game. And my wife is just in my ear. Did you know this or did you know that? And I'm not fully present. I'll be honest with you. I'm not fully present. And she knows it. And she's like, you ain't listening to me. You're not listening. Yes, I am. She'll say to me, what did I say? I was like, you said Brittany need to go to the store. And she's like, that's not what I said. And so what I'm going to tell you is this. There are times in a relationship where you have to be intentional about your communication. You have to be present. I'm not saying every day. There are things you do, right? I think some conversation, some communication might not be as important as others. But there are some times when no matter what's going on, you must be intentional. And so being intentional is the first thing. So I'm going to give you the 6 ways to improve your communication in your relationship, to make your heart beat more. The first thing in communication to make your relationship better, even if it's not a romantic relationship, is you have to be willing. You have to have a willingness to speak your truth. Now, when I say that, I am going to share with you how to speak your truth, but you have to have a willingness, because a lot of people hold things inside. A lot of people, they'll just say, I'm going to just keep it inside because I don't want to argue. I don't want to do this. But let me just let me just caution you about something. Every seed planted grows into something. You just don't know what that seed is going to grow into. If you keep planting the seed and hiding the seed inside of you, that seed of, I can't speak my voice is stifled, I cannot say what I feel, it's going to grow into something. It may grow into frustration. It may grow into anger. It may grow into an affair. It may grow into anything, but it's going to grow into something. You have to be willing to speak your truth in any relationship. Because listen, lack of communication always leads to miscommunication. If you hold it inside, if you decide that I'm going to keep it inside, I'm never going to tell them what I'm thinking. It's going to lead to miscommunication because the other person does not know what you're thinking. They only assume that you're thinking something. All of us, when we're in a relationship, we can only assume that the other person is thinking something. So you have to be willing to speak your truth. I'm not saying, now, if you've been the type of person who have not spoken much, and you feel like your voice has been suppressed, and you feel like speak my truth, then the consequences of that is much more than I can bear. I often say this to you, I offer you this advice, is the pain, listen to me, you will never speak your truth if the pain of staying the same is less than the pain of changing. The pain of staying the same has to be greater than the pain of changing. And until it is, you won't speak your truth. Because be willing. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it. And many of us don't know how. We've never been taught how to do it. So today, what I want to do is I'm going to show you how to speak your truth. But you have to be willing. All right? That's number one. The second thing is I want you to understand about what people do. Some people are the exact opposite. Like me. Number two, you can't over communicate about an issue. You cannot over communicate about an issue because here's what happens. If you and your partner have discussed something, you've discussed an issue and it doesn't sit well with you. And then every week you're bashing them over the head about the same issue. You're bringing up the same issue. And then what you're doing is you're over communicating about an issue. And what I tell people is if we've discussed it before, we've come to a resolution, and then because it's still bothering you, you keep bringing it up. I have no problem with you bringing up something to work through something, to tell your partner about how you feel about something. I have no problem with that. The only thing is, if you're bringing up something and you're bringing it up because you want to make the other person suffer because you're suffering about it, then what you need to do is you need to talk through how you feel, because how you feel is causing the other person. And the truth is, let's be honest, there are many situations like the person may be unfaithful to you. You want to keep bringing it up because you want the person to feel the hurt that you're feeling. And I understand that. But that's a part of you that needs healing. You've got to work through the healing part of you first before the relationship can go on. And I would tell my partner that I need to be healed in this area. And until I'm healed in this area, I cannot move forward, because a lot of people just want to move on. And so what I'm saying is, if that is the case, don't just keep bringing it up to make the person suffer. Bring it up and tell the person what you need. I need to be healed from this. So this is what's bothering me. And what happens is, once we communicate that, then that's another parameter. So now we understand what it is we're dealing with. So now we understand what we have to do when we're dealing with that. Now, number 3 is this. This is powerful, y'all. In communication, you must communicate with people based on their personality, based on how they communicate, rather than how you communicate. Now listen to what I'm about to tell you. Most people communicate based on how they are. And I've heard it many times before. People say, well, you know what? I'm just going to give it to them straight. I'm a straight shooter. And if they get it, fine. If they don't, fine. Problem with that is that what I told you before, in communication, the sender is responsible for the communication. Now if you're sending a message to someone, you want the receiver to receive the communication. You want the receiver to receive the meaning that you have behind the communication. So one of the most effective ways of communicating is communicate with that person based on how they are, not how you are. Let me give you an example. My wife is not loud. I'm loud. I like to over-communicate many times. And so I realized that she's subdued. I realized that she's quiet. She's more reserved. She's more reluctant to say. So when I am communicating with her, my issue, what I do is I communicate with her based on how she is, not how I am. So what do? I lower my voice. I communicate with her. They call it blending. I communicate with her because I'm trying to get a point across. I communicate with her based on how she is, not how I am. If she's reserved, she's quiet, I almost mimic the way she's communicating. I still say the words that I want to get across. But what I'm doing is I am delivering the message in the way that she can receive it. What happens is if I communicate with her based on the way that I communicate, I'm loud, I'm in your face, let's get it over with right now, let's talk through it right now. Then she can't hear me. Listen, now she can't focus on the message. She simply focuses on the messenger. And what happens in communication is we get so caught up because we're made to focus on the messenger, not the message. But when you change the delivery, instead of focusing on the messenger, you focus on the message. Y'all, that's stupid powerful. Stupid powerful. Okay? Number 4, listening to understand versus listening to respond. We all do that. We all do that. So what I found out is when my wife and I was going through, we were going to divorce court. When I was like, yo, we weren't listening to each other. So one day we came up with this solution that we couldn't speak while the other person was speaking. We couldn't speak. And so because we couldn't speak, I was forced to listen. And so what I said was, I was listening for understanding as opposed to listening to talk. How do you know I was listening for understanding? Because I came up with this. This is not new. I was teaching communication. So I said, every time we communicate, would you repeat what it is you heard, what it is you thought I said? And I said I would do the same. We call it echoing. You echo back what the other person, what you think you heard from the other person. I echo and I say, here's what I hear you saying. Is this what I hear you saying? And then she would say, no, that's not what I'm saying. I said, well, oh, okay, that's what I thought you were saying. So when you echo back to the person, you're actually listening for understanding as opposed to listening to respond. Y'all, what is it? Y'all know when you get in an argument, y'all know I'm the same way. That's why I have to make a conscious effort to do this stuff. You know, sometimes when you're in an argument with somebody, you just want to get your point across. You just want to get your point across. You want to get to it. And you're like, oh, snap. I got to get to it. I got to get to it. I got to prove myself. I got to make sure that my point gets across. But when you echo, when you summarize what the person is saying, now the person believes that you're actually listening for understanding. And when a person believes that you're trying to understand them, they try to understand you. That's powerful, y'all. They try to understand you. And so that's what we do. That's what me and my wife do now. This shit works, y'all. You know, sometimes, a lot of times, not just sometimes, a lot of times I'll say stuff and she'll say, well, you said this. And then I was like, that's not what I meant. And you find out what you said was not what they meant. Okay? Oh, number five. Stay solution-oriented versus problem-oriented. Y'all, in communication, where a lot of relationships go wrong is because they focus on the problem so long. Anything that you focus on gets magnified. There's a thing in our brain called the reticular activating system. And what that is this. Whatever we focus on, it gets magnified. But whatever we get acutely aware of, whatever we want, it is what we tell our brain to focus on, and that's what it's going to magnify. It's just like, y'all, you ever bought a car? You ever bought a car and you go on a car lot and you've never seen a car like the one you want. But as soon as you go on a car lot and you see that car, you get it off the car lot, you like, wow, I have this car. Nobody else has one. All of a sudden, you see one just like you got. And then all of a sudden you see another one. Then all of a sudden you see another one. You're like, dang, I didn't think anybody bought this, but everybody's got the car. What it is the way our brains work, your reticular activating system begins to focus, bring into focus that which you want. You wanted the car so badly. Now that you have it, your brain has been taught to focus on it. Now, every time that car goes by, every time the car goes, your brain says, there it is again. There's another one. There's another one. And that's the same thing with problems. So here's what my wife and I did when we were going through these problems about 12 years ago. We were focused on, we couldn't talk to each other. We kept saying, you get on my, you don't let me speak. You don't let me talk. I can't speak without, everything I do is wrong. I remember those conversations. And then one day she came to me and said, what could I have done to make you feel different? That one question kept us out of divorce court. I'm like, and when she asked me the question, it was in a Wendy's parking lot. Y'all, if you don't believe me, go to my Grand Canyon's YouTube and see the video of how that question saved our marriage. Because when she asked me, for a minute, I got stumped and I was like, I don't know. Because I had focused on the problem so long, I hadn't even thought about the solution. I hadn't even thought about what she could have done. And so then we began to focus on the solution. When she said, what could I have done? My mind shifted and I began to think about what could she actually do to make me feel different? What could she actually do to change my response? That set us on a course that changed our relationship. Wow. And the last thing I'm going to give you today is this, and this is powerful. Use the word I instead of you. So I created this thing called the 3-part I system. Check this out. 3-part I system. Here's how it works. So let's say you want to tell somebody something of something they're doing that's bothering you. I don't care if you're in a romantic relationship or it can be somebody at work. Okay, so this is how you kind of Jedi mind trick people, work on both sides of the brains. All right, here's how it goes. First thing you do is you state the facts. I call this the I see stage. Okay, you state the fact. Hey, I see or I notice that every time we talk, you raise your voice when we get in an argument. I noticed that. I noticed that every time you leave the toilet up. I noticed that the last few weeks that you've done this. I noticed that. You're stating a fact. And so what happens is people, when you're communicating, a lot of times people want to bring in emotions, but you always start with the thing you noticed. I noticed this. I saw this. I see this. Start with state the fact. You always start with the fact. I see, I notice. And then the second stage of the I, of these 3 stages of I, is you say, I feel. Here's how I feel about what I notice. Here's how I feel about you raising your voice at me. I feel disrespected. I feel like you don't respect anything I have to say. I feel like you're discarding me. I feel. Now, why is this important? Once you state the fact, then you state how you feel, the person is forced to deal with your emotions. Okay, so you say, I notice that every time I come around, you pick up your phone. I noticed that. I feel like you're hiding something from me. I feel this way. You have never raised your voice. So you state the fact, then you tell them how you feel about the fact. Now, the fact, they might deny the fact, but the truth is, it's the fact as you see it. And then the last thing, it's I see, state the fact, I feel, state how you feel about the fact, and then I want. You always end with I want. I would like for you to do this. I would like for every time we talk, I would like for you to lower your voice when you're talking to me. I would like blank, 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 blank. See, when you go through this I versus you process, it works because you have not once said you. You do this, you do that. People become defensive when you say you. If you use I in this program, in your communication, now the person is forced to deal with it because you're talking about your emotions. Yo, that's it. That's it. These things, if you do these things in communication, I promise you, you will begin to communicate more effectively, y'all. Hey, I appreciate y'all today. And if you have any questions, concerns, inbox me. Listen, if anybody is interested in a discovery session, maybe I can help you. You got relationship issues, or you just want to find out what's going on with you. Hey, I've got the link in here. Hit www.grandcanyons.com and book a discovery session with me. And let's go through it, y'all. It's a small investment. I got to know you serious because I ain't wasting my time with people who aren't. But if you are serious, let's go to work. All right, y'all. I'm Ken Canion, the host of Love, Lust, and Lies, and I am out. Until tomorrow, remember, every journey starts with one step. Take yours today.